Israel happens to be in the eye of the Omicron storm, or at least that is what the Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett now feels, because he's issued a pretty alarming statement where Bennett has cautioned that during this current wave led by the Omicron variant of the coronavirus, Israel could in fact see a sharp surge in nearly about 40% of its population getting infected by the Omicron variant of the coronavirus. Now, Bennett wrote on his Twitter account, and I quote him here, "Data presented at the cabinet meeting indicates here in the state of Israel between 2 to 4 million citizens in total could get infected in this current wave." Now, over the past week, the state of Israel has seen infections quadruple. On Saturday, the health ministry reported over 17,000 fresh infections with a population of just about 9.4 million people. That's 94 lakh people. The state of Israel has buckled nationwide testing facilities. A lack of testing sites has also created a huge pressure on the existing ones. The government has also revised its testing policy. But even with the new guidelines, it is proving almost impossible to test the inflow of number of people who are trying to come and get themselves tested. Now, antigen tests are in scarce supply at the pharmacies around the country, and people are forced to spend several hours in line waiting to get one administered. With the surge in the number of COVID-19 infections and hours-long queues at mandatory testing stations, the state of Israel has sought to ease access to home COVID-19 tests. The government is also negotiating price reductions with major pharmacy chains as well. And more than 1.5 million COVID cases have been officially recorded in the state of Israel, including about 8,000 deaths. Now, more than 4.3 million Israelis have been fully vaccinated with 3 shots. And amidst the surge inside, Bennett has also reiterated that he will do everything that he possibly can to avoid another crippling lockdown. The lockdowns have not proven to be an efficient measure against the spread of the highly infectious Omicron variant of the coronavirus. Instead, it has actually dealt a heavy blow to the economy in different countries around the world. So this, of course, is the situation in the state of Israel, where, remember, the rate of vaccination has been pretty remarkable. And Israel also happens to be one of the first nations in the world that has given a 4th booster shot of the coronavirus vaccines as well. But despite of that, what Israel is witnessing is something that is unprecedented, something that it had not witnessed in the first and the second waves of the COVID-19 infections. The Prime Minister has now put it out in the public domain that on the basis of the data that the state of Israel is looking at in terms of the infection rates within the population, anywhere from 2 to perhaps 4 million people could get infected in this latest wave of COVID-19 infections, driven largely by the Omicron mutant variant. Now, remember, we're talking of a time span of anywhere in the next 4 to 8 weeks. And that is the scale of the number of infections which the state of Israel is, of course, expecting, which has caused a lot of reason for concern for the administration of the state of Israel. And it remains to be seen as to how this will be tackled, where despite the vaccinations, where despite the public advisories and guidelines that are being given out, despite the fact that people would, one hopes, adhere to social distancing and wearing of face masks, the Omicron variant somehow seems to be so transmissible that it has spread virtually like wildfire even in the state of Israel. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.